What's good, YouTube? It's Joe Dark Fan here, bringing you a quick video on how to actually prepare your cards and inspect them for actual PSA, HGA grading, BGS grading, whatever actual service you want to use for your grading cards. As I know, a lot of us have really gone into that lately, and it's kind of playing a big impact on us flipping cards for value and obviously getting a profit out. And give you a quick overview of what the actual tools I use. So just to determine like what's perfectly centered, what's actually pretty good, the corners, the edges, all that stuff. So first off, if you're a new subscriber or just clicking on this video for more knowledge, please feel free to subscribe, turn on those notifications, like, comment. Anything helps. I really appreciate it. I know there's a lot of community in sports cards, basically cards in general. So let's keep that going. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and describe what I'm using first. So if you're handling any like new modern sports cards or any cards, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, wrestling, soccer, basketball, me personally, I always like to use gloves because you never know. I mean, we technically don't know and realize how much like our hands get oily and how much they actually produce oil for the most part, because it's just second nature and we don't really think about it. But when it comes to grading, that plays a huge factor. If something has like a smudge or like a stain, basically like an oil stain, fingerprints, that kind of matters. And especially if you're buying from eBay, a lot of sellers don't really pay attention to those details, if there's fingerprints on something or smudges. But that's no problem. I mean, that's just superficial stuff we can fix, and I'll go ahead and go over that right now. So first things first, I like to use gloves just to kind of get ready on the prepping process of this, on how to actually look over stuff for smudges, centering, all that stuff. The other tool is this magnifying loupe, just to give you more insight on this, just to give you more magnification on the edges, the corners of the cards. I'm going to go ahead and leave the description for the link down below so you can guys go ahead and purchase this. It's really cool, very lightweight, it's very portable, you can use it. I'll give you an example really quick on the corners, if I can zoom in here. So as you see, it magnifies it so you can look at the corners. Really good tool. I really like it a lot. A lot of them have like glossy finishing, and it's really easy to get fingerprinting on it. So any like lightweight cloth just to clean stuff is going to really help you out. Just any type of fingerprinting, smudges, you name it. It'll basically just obviously remember to put light pressure. It is a card. It's very very fragile to big pressure, so keep that in mind. And the other big thing for centering, because I think that's the main thing all these grading services, PSA, HGA, BGS look for, is the centering of the cards. So there's this actual service online that I got this from. Gives you the details here, where to purchase it. I think it was either eBay or Amazon that I got this from. So it's like a grid that actually outlines like kind of different dimensions of like different types of cards, because obviously sports cards and like trading cards are different dimensions. And just to give you an outline of like, hey, this is actually pretty good, pretty centered, not centered, off centered. In addition to that, they also include like the dimensions of how it actually fits. If it's bold, that means it's perfectly centered to a certain extent. If it's not bold, then it's off-centered. So it kind of gives you a better idea on how to actually like determine if your card is like a PSA 9, a PSA 10, a BGS 9.5. It just gives you a little more power to actually determine what you're going to send out for grading. So with that said, I'll just give you a brief demonstration. So with Pokemon, I think it's pretty clear when you notice when something's really off-centered. This one's okay. This one's good. I mean, it's a new modern card, so I don't expect to have a lot of factory issues. But just to give you a little example of how to do this, you just line up the card as best as you can. Usually you would do this on the table, but just for demonstration purposes and to actually look at the card specifically and magnify this, I'm just holding it up here. So as you see here, I think this kind of lines up with the number 2 to 3 region, which is decently centered. I think it's like 50, 50, 60, 40. So this is a pretty good card. Obviously, you want to do front and back, of course, for centering. I think it looks good. And obviously, just look for smudges. Just do any like superficial cleaning. I mean, this card's pretty good. I kind of already knew it's pretty good, so because I recently pulled it. So I think I would possibly send that out. Obviously, you'll determine what you want to send out. And then of course there's those occasions where there's difficult cards that don't have an actual like border all around the card. For grading, it's kind of difficult to get either like a 10 on these. With these cards, just to give you this example, there is going to be like factory printing lines. I don't know if I can really show you this, but right here, up and down, it's going to be a well-known thing. It's going to be really difficult to get a 10 with those factory lines. That's obviously out of the control of the actual, like, a view of what you can do for this. But Mbappe is really going to be a sought-after card, or actually just an actual player overall for the next year and a half with the World Cup coming on. So basically picking him up a lot. And then a card to be specific on how it's off-centered. You can see here, this card is Macho Man Randy Savage, extremely off-center right here on the right. I don't know if it was just cut in an awkward way, but as you see, like right here in this region, it's extremely off-centered. Same thing on the back. You can see this is like small, narrow margin right here. And then obviously, like once you use your tool, I mean, obviously you wouldn't really send this out, but since it's just like one of those first WWF sets, you may potentially want to send it out because the population count on this is going to be pretty low, which you can flip in the long term. But that's it, guys. These are the tools, like I mentioned earlier in the video. If you haven't already subscribed, please go ahead and do so. It really helps out. I really appreciate your time watching this. I know everybody's trying to get into this community because there's a lot of actual cool people in this, just trying to learn the best they can for the new sports cards coming out. But that's basically it. I'll just put in the links below on all these tools that I'm using. I really appreciate your time, and like always, keep it 8,000. Peace.